The Toronto Blue Jays fire sale is fully underway, and after a few trades that they've made, they've allowed themselves to restock their very weak farm system, but a couple of assets still need to be dealt, and I'm talking about Yusei Kikuchi and Chad Green. This video is going to focus on Yusei Kikuchi, and his name has been brought up several times, and he is fully expected to be dealt ahead of Tuesday night's deadline, so I'll break that down and much more on this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. What's up, everybody? Welcome into 3 Up, 3 Down. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis. This deadline has been insane, so I'm really glad to be bringing this video to you. I'm not going to recap everything that has been happening, but I will focus on the Blue Jays today, and they've made a few trades, and I'm talking about Nate Pearson. They've also dealt Jimmy Garcia and got a pretty good prospect back in return, and Danny Jansen as well. So they've allowed themselves to restock their farm system, which is ranked as one of the worst in Major League Baseball. They haven't gotten any number one prospects by any stretch, but they have got a few top 30 prospects that have already been inserted into their team's top 30. So it's been a good start to the deadline for the Blue Jays, but they still have a lot of work to do when it comes to Yusei Kikuchi and Chad Green. We fully expect Kikuchi to be dealt before tomorrow at 6 p.m. But Chad Green, the way that the market has been playing out, the Blue Jays would be very smart to explore deals for him because he does have an extra year of control, and I think that value adds a lot to his name. But the Jays have said that they want to keep players that are going to be here for next season. So I don't know if Chad Green fits that bill for them. He is under club control for one more year after this one. But I don't know if the Blue Jays want to hang on to him, considering the way that relievers have been getting a lot of prospects in return for the teams that are trading them away. So we'll break that down in this episode. But before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. But let's not waste any time here. Yusei Kikuchi. The Dodgers are among the teams discussing Kikuchi's trade proposals with the Blue Jays. The Twins, Padres, and Astros are also involved. A Kikuchi deal is seen as very likely before 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And of course, the deadline is on Tuesday, tomorrow at 6 p.m. So we got to monitor that very closely. But yes, Kikuchi is one of those names that has been brought up several times, and this is a tweet that I'm talking about. Regardless of aims for next year, Jay should absolutely still be trading Chad Green, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Yusei Kikuchi, Justin Turner, and Kevin Kiermaier. Now, Kiermaier is going to be a little bit more tricky because he did leave yesterday's game and he felt some pain, and he is released on outright waivers right now, but he's still with the team. It's a very weird situation, and he's making a ton of money as well. So I don't know how many contending teams would be willing to go out there and fit the bill for file the bill, I guess, for Kevin Kiermaier. So it's going to be very interesting to follow all of those names as the next 24 hours unfold here. But Yusei Kikuchi is definitely a name that needs to be dealt and should be dealt by the Toronto Blue Jays, because he's going to get them a decent return back, and he's an expiring deal. And I know that he said publicly that he loves Toronto, his wife loves Toronto, and his family does as well. But if that's the case, then maybe they can work out a contract extension in the offseason for him to come back to the Blue Jays. That's entirely possible. I'm not sure off the top of my head how many times that has happened in Major League Baseball history, but if he loves it that much, then I'm sure he can work out a deal to come back to Toronto, because they'll definitely need some starting pitching help if they want to compete next season. But for this year, their focus needs to be on restocking the farm system with a bunch of players that are not too far away from the major leagues. And they've done that with Jonathan Clase of the Seattle Mariners, Yohendrick Pinango of the Chicago Cubs, and that Nate Pearson deal. So they've gotten back some pretty decent players in return, and I think the Blue Jays are really headed in the right direction. So I'm happy with the way that the deadline has played itself out, and you see this here. Ben Nicholson-Smith lists off Chad Green, Yusei Kikuchi, IKF, and Justin Turner as names to watch in the next 46 or so hours that could go next. So this list is not just restricted to guys that have one more year left on their deals, and the only one that is exempt of that is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who has one more year after this one at $7.5 million, which is a hefty price tag, but he has been playing fantastic offensively this year, and you know exactly what you're getting out of him in terms of Gold Glove defense, whether it's at third base, second base, maybe even at shortstop in a pinch as well. So the Jays have some attractive assets to offer to those contending teams, and I think they got to do everything in their power to try to offload them and restock this farm system. That's got to be the number one priority here. I know Ross Atkins has gotten a lot of heat for the way that he's operated in the past couple of years, but I think these 3 trades that he's made ahead of the deadline so far have been really positive, and he's gotten exactly what the Blue Jays have needed. So again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a whirlwind of emotions for Blue Jays fans over the next 24 hours or so, and I think Yusei Kikuchi is the next name that we'll hear. And this tweet here from John Morosi showing that there are at least 4 teams involved in the pursuit of Kikuchi, it shows that, you know, maybe the Blue Jays are holding out until they get that number one offer, or they get the best possible offer that they think they can go out and get. So again, I'm not sure what the starting pitching market is like. We know that the reliever market has been pretty hot, and the Blue Jays have gotten a decent return back for Jimmy Garcia. Now, I do expect them to explore trades for Chad Green as well, but you look at the relievers that have been dealt around Major League Baseball, and they've been garnering a pretty hefty return for the teams that are trading them away. So I think the Blue Jays need to be in full sell mode. Don't keep anyone that maybe isn't a part of the solution in 2025. And I think Chad Green is kind of in that gray area because he's a really good player, and he's one of the more consistent relievers in baseball. But I think relievers are replaceable, and so is Chad Green. It's not like he throws 100 miles an hour. So I think the Blue Jays would be better off to explore trades of that nature. And let's look at Yusei Kikuchi's stats for this season. They're not exceptional, but that's also due in part to his recent performances. In the past 2 months, he hasn't been good for the Blue Jays. He's got an ERA of over 6 in the month of June and over 6 in the month of July as well, even though he had a sub-3 ERA to start off the year. The whip is high. He's given up a lot of hits. The base on balls, it's always been a problem with Kikuchi, the consistent command, but he's not walking too many guys this year. So he's got to iron some things out once he does go to a contending team. But I think the fact that he's a lefty, throws that hard, has as great as stuff as he does, I think that really gives him an advantage in terms of the versatility that he can offer to the team that would be acquiring him. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. Really appreciate the support that we've gotten on our previous videos. I'm going to have you guys covered on everything that you need to know in terms of the trade deadline, because I expect it to be very active over the next 24 hours or so. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. And check out baseballtown.ca as well for all the equipment that you need when it comes to baseball or softball, whether it's gloves, bats, batting gloves, or cleats. They got you covered. The best possible equipment at the most competitive prices. Check out baseballtown.ca. But that'll wrap it up, and we'll see you all tomorrow.